Ambassador Jiwoo Kim sat in her small office aboard the diplomatic ship floating in space near Earth. The walls were white and clean, with a big screen showing stars outside. She had been Earth's voice to the galaxy for 3 years now, but today felt different. Today felt dangerous. The communication device on her desk beeped with an urgent message. Jiwoo pressed a button and watched as a blue face appeared on the screen. It was Chancellor Veldar from the Galactic Council, the group that made rules for all the planets and species in their part of space. Ambassador Kim, the alien said in perfect human language. His voice was calm but serious. You must come to Nexus Prime immediately. Humanity faces grave charges. Jiwoo felt her stomach drop. What charges, Chancellor? Your species has broken the peace treaty. We have found military bases in your outer colonies. This cannot be allowed. The blue alien's large eyes stared directly at her. You have 48 hours to appear before the full council. The screen went dark. Jiwoo sat back in her chair and closed her eyes. This was exactly what Earth's leaders had been afraid of. She walked to a window and looked out at the stars. Somewhere out there, beyond what anyone could see, something terrible was coming. Captain Donghyun Park had seen it 3 months ago while exploring the edge of their galaxy. Huge ships, bigger than cities, moving toward them with unknown purposes. But when Earth told the Galactic Council about these ships, they laughed. The Council had kept peace in the galaxy for 10,000 years. They thought humans were just being worried about nothing. Like always, Lieutenant Lee, Jiwoo called to her assistant in the next room. Please come here. A young woman with short black hair entered. Soo-Jin Lee had been helping Jiwoo for 2 years and knew her well. Yes, Ambassador? Pack everything. We're going to Nexus Prime. Jiwoo turned from the window and sent a message to President Nam on Earth. Tell him the Council knows about our preparations. Soo-Jin's face went pale. Everyone on Earth knew what preparations meant. For months, Earth had been building things in space that looked like farms and mining stations. But they were really weapons factories and military bases. Humanity was getting ready for war. How much do they know? Soo-Jin asked. Enough to call us treaty breakers. Jiwoo picked up her files from the desk. The question is, will they listen when we tell them why we're doing it? The next day, their ship traveled through hyperspace toward Nexus Prime, the capital world of the Galactic Council. Jiwoo spent the time reading reports from Earth's military leaders. The numbers were scary but necessary. Admiral Choi had turned asteroid belts into weapon factories. Colonel Park had hidden military bases inside what looked like peaceful research stations. General Kim had trained 3 million soldiers in the past 6 months alone. To the galaxy, it looked like Earth was planning to attack someone. But Earth was actually preparing to defend everyone. Jiwoo remembered her last meeting with President Nam before leaving Earth. He had been tired and worried, with gray hair that seemed grayer each day. Jiwoo, he had said, using her first name like he did when they were alone. If the Council forces us to stop our preparations, we'll all die when those ships arrive. But if we keep preparing, they might decide to stop us themselves. What should I tell them, Mr. President? The truth, that humans learned a long time ago that peace only lasts when good people are ready to fight for it. Now, as Nexus Prime grew large on their ship screen, Jiwoo wondered if the truth would be enough. The planet was beautiful, with white cities and crystal towers reaching toward the sky. It was a world that had never seen war, ruled by species that had forgotten what real danger looked like. Ambassador, Soo-Jin said from her seat nearby, I've been reading about the Council members. Most of their species haven't fought a war in thousands of years. Some have never fought at all. Jiwoo nodded. That's what worries me. They think peace just happens by itself. They don't understand that sometimes you have to be ready for war to keep peace. The ship landed on Nexus Prime's diplomatic platform. As they walked down the exit ramp, Jiwoo saw alien reporters from dozens of worlds waiting for them. News traveled fast in the galaxy, and everyone wanted to know why the humans were in trouble. Ambassador Kim, one reporter shouted, is it true that Earth is planning to invade other worlds? Will humanity leave the Galactic Council? Called another. Jiwoo walked past them without stopping. She had learned that saying nothing was sometimes better than saying the wrong thing. Inside the council building, she was taken to a waiting room. Through the wall, she could hear voices from the main chamber where representatives from 47 different worlds were discussing her people's fate. In a few hours, she would stand before them and try to explain why humans were building weapons when everyone else was living in peace. She would try to make them understand that the ships coming from beyond their galaxy were real and dangerous. But first, she had to convince them to listen to a species they now saw as warlike and dangerous. Jiwoo looked out the window at the peaceful city below and whispered a prayer to whatever gods might be listening. Tomorrow, she would either save her people or watch them become enemies of the entire galaxy. The Grand Assembly Hall was the biggest room Jiwoo Kim had ever seen. The ceiling stretched so high she could barely see it, and seats for hundreds of alien representatives curved around a central speaking area. Today, all those seats were filled, and all those alien eyes were looking at her. Jiwoo stood at the human speaking platform, her hands slightly shaking. She had practiced her speech 100 times, but now the words felt heavy in her mouth. Around her, creatures of every shape and color waited to hear what she would say. Chancellor Veldar spoke first. He was tall and thin with blue skin and large black eyes. When he talked, his words appeared directly inside everyone's mind instead of coming through their ears. Ambassador Kim, his mental voice was calm but cold, we have proof that your species is building weapons throughout space. Our spies have heard your military leaders talking about something called total war plans and planet-burning strategies. How you explain this? Jiwoo took a deep breath. Honored Chancellor, everything we're doing is to protect ourselves. We found enemy ships coming from outside our galaxy. They're heading this way, and they look dangerous. A sound like breaking glass filled the hall. It came from Kristall, the representative of the Vorthak people. Her body was made of living crystal that changed colors when she was angry. Lies! Kristall's voice chimed like bells. We have watched space for longer than your species has existed. Nothing is out there. You're making up stories to hide your real plans. Other aliens in the hall made sounds of agreement. Some clicked, some hummed, some made noises Jiwoo had never heard before. But they all meant the same thing. They didn't believe her. Please listen, Jiwoo said, her voice getting stronger. Captain Park saw these ships 3 months ago. They're real. They're coming. And they're bigger than anything we've ever seen. Even if that were true, said another alien with tentacles instead of arms, why would peaceful humans suddenly build so many weapons? Our watchers say you've made 3 times more war machines in 6 months than in the previous 10 years. Jiwoo felt frustration building in her chest. How could she make them understand? These aliens had lived in peace for so long they had forgotten what real danger looked like. We build weapons because that's how humans stay alive, she said. Our home world taught us that the universe is dangerous. We learned that if you're not ready to fight, someone stronger will hurt you. But the aliens just stared at her with confused faces. They came from worlds where everyone was nice to each other, where problems were solved by talking, where war was something that happened in old history books. Chancellor Veldar's mental voice filled the room again. We vote now. All who agree that Earth must stop making weapons and remove their military bases, say yes. One by one, the alien representatives voted. The Zephyrians voted yes. The Crystalline Collective voted yes. The Peaceful Federation voted yes. Jiwoo watched as species after species decided that humanity was dangerous and needed to be stopped. When the counting was done, 45 species had voted yes. Only 2 had voted no, and one of those was humanity itself. The decision is made, Chancellor Veldar announced. Earth has 7 days to remove all military equipment from space. If they refuse, we will send ships to make them obey. Far away on Earth, Admiral Hyunwoo Choi watched the vote happen on a big screen in the military command center. Around him, Earth's top generals and leaders sat in uncomfortable silence. President Nam leaned back in his chair and rubbed his tired eyes. How many ships can we have ready in 7 days? All of them, sir, Admiral Choi replied. Our factories have been working day and night. We have 200 warships ready to fight, with more being built every hour. And if they send their peacekeeping fleet? Admiral Choi's face became hard like stone. Then they'll learn why humans never forgot how to fight wars. General Minho Kim, the youngest person in the room, raised her hand. Sir, maybe we should try to talk to them again. Make them understand we're not the enemy. They had their chance to listen, President Nam said sadly. They chose not to believe us. Now we have to be ready for whatever comes next. Back on Nexus Prime, Jiwoo Kim sat alone in her small room at the diplomatic hotel. She had failed. Instead of making peace, she had watched her species become enemies of the entire galaxy. Her communication device beeped with a message from Earth. It was from her younger brother Jinho, who worked as a teacher in Seoul. Sister, his recorded message said, I know things didn't go well today, but remember what our father always told us. Sometimes doing the right thing means everyone else thinks you're wrong. Jiwoo smiled sadly. Their father had been a soldier who fought in the last war on Earth before humans reached the stars. He always said that peace was precious because it was hard to keep. Outside her window, she could see alien ships beginning to gather in Nexus Prime's orbital space. The galaxy was preparing to force humanity back into line. But Jiwoo knew something the aliens didn't. Humans had spent thousands of years learning how to fight impossible battles against stronger enemies, and they had never learned how to give up. Tomorrow, the real test would begin. Captain Minho Young stood on the bridge of his massive warship, watching the strange readings on his screen. His ship, called Harmony's Voice, was bigger than a city and had kept peace in the galaxy for 300 years. But the numbers he was seeing now made no sense. Captain, his officer said nervously, we're getting close to the human solar system, but these readings, they can't be right. Minho looked at the display showing space around Earth. What the humans had called farming stations were changing before his eyes. Metal arms unfolded from hidden places. Weapon ports opened like flowers blooming. Ships poured out of openings that hadn't been there moments before. By the stars, whispered another officer. How many ships are they making? The answer came from the computer. Current count, 400 and rising. Production rate, 12 ships per hour across all stations. Minho felt his stomach drop. His peacekeeping fleet had 25 ships total. The humans were building more ships in one day than his people made in a year. On Earth, Admiral Hyunwoo Choi watched the alien fleet approach from his command ship. The Soul's Thunder was smaller than the alien ships, but was built for one purpose: fighting wars and winning them. Admiral, Commander So-Young Park reported, the alien fleet has 12 big ships and about 50 smaller ones. They're asking us to surrender. Admiral Choi studied the enemy ships on his screen. They were beautiful, like works of art floating in space. Their smooth curves and bright colors showed they were made by people who thought war was something pretty and clean. Those ships were built for parades, not battles, Choi said to his officers. They'd forgotten what real warships look like. He pressed a button that connected him to every human military base in the solar system. All stations, this is Admiral Choi. Show them what Earth looks like when it's angry. Across human space, the war machine came to life. Asteroid mining stations revealed hidden weapon factories inside them. Research labs opened their doors to show rows of fighter ships. Even the space elevators that carried cargo from Earth transformed into launch platforms for military vessels. Captain Minho Young watched in growing horror as space filled with human ships. They were smaller than his vessels, painted in dark colors that made them hard to see. But there were so many of them, moving in perfect coordination like a school of deadly fish. Captain, his communications officer said with shaking voice, they're not following any of the normal rules of space combat. They're attacking from all directions at once. Minho had studied warfare in military school, but it was old-fashioned warfare, the kind where two fleets faced each other in neat lines and fought with honor. The humans weren't doing anything like that. Human ships swarmed around his fleet like angry insects. They came from above and below, from the sides, even from behind, using the sun to hide their approach. Some ships seemed to be working together to attack one target, while others acted alone, striking fast and disappearing. They're using their own ships as weapons, shouted his tactical officer. 3 human ships just crashed into our Peacebringer on purpose. Minho realized with growing dread that his people had made a terrible mistake. They had thought the humans were like them, people who fought politely and gave up when things got difficult. Instead, they had awakened something that fought like the universe itself was trying to kill it. Signal retreat. Minho ordered, pull back to the outer edge of the system. But even as his fleet tried to escape, the human ships followed. They didn't attack to capture or to make a point. They attacked to destroy completely, using tactics that seemed impossible and weapons that appeared from nowhere. Admiral Choi opened a communication channel that every ship in both fleets could hear. "This is Admiral Hyunwoo Choi of Earth's Defense Force. You came here thinking we wanted to conquer the galaxy. You were wrong." His voice was calm but filled with steel. "We were preparing to defend it. The question now is simple. Will you help us protect our homes? Or do we need to protect our homes from you too?" On the alien command ship, Captain Min-Ho Young looked at the tactical display, showing his beautiful fleet being torn apart by smaller, uglier human vessels. Half his ships were already damaged or destroyed. The rest were running away as fast as they could. "Captain," his officer asked quietly, "should we send for reinforcements?" Min-Ho thought about that for a long moment. He thought about bringing more of the galaxy's peaceful ships to fight these humans who treated war like a science they had spent centuries perfecting. "No," he said finally. "Send word to the council instead. Tell them we may have just started a war we cannot win." In the distance, human ships continued their deadly dance through space. Captain Min-Ho Young realized that his people had spent 10,000 years forgetting how to fight. The humans had spent that same time learning how to fight better. As his damaged fleet limped away from Earth, Min-Ho wondered if they had just awakened the most dangerous species in the galaxy. The humans hadn't wanted this war, but now that it had started, they seemed very, very good at it. The peacekeepers were running from the people they had come to make peaceful. Captain Eun-ji Lim flew her small fighter ship through the wreckage floating in space. Pieces of alien warships drifted past her cockpit window like metallic snow. The battle had lasted less than 1 hour, but the space around Jupiter looked like a graveyard. Her radio crackled with Admiral Choi's voice. "Falcon Squadron, report your status." "All targets destroyed or retreating, Admiral," Eun-ji replied, steering around a chunk of crystal that had once been part of an enemy ship. "The big blue ship is still floating, but it's not moving anymore." She looked at the Tranquil Mind, the alien battleship that had been leading the attack. It was 10 times bigger than her fighter, covered in smooth curves and decorated with peaceful symbols. Now it had holes burned through its hull and was spinning slowly without power. "Let them go," Falcon leader Admiral Choi said. "We've made our point." Eun-ji watched the surviving alien ships run away toward the outer planets. She felt strange about the victory. The enemy ships had been beautiful, like floating palaces, but they fought like their crews had never seen real combat before. Across the galaxy, news of the battle spread faster than light through the communication networks. On every world, aliens watched recordings of the fight with growing fear. The humans hadn't just won. They had destroyed a peacekeeping fleet that everyone thought was unbeatable. On Nexus Prime, Chancellor Veldar sat in his private office, watching the battle recordings for the 10th time. His large eyes focused on the human tactics that made no sense to him. "They used their own ships as flying bombs," he said to his military advisor, General Kethmore. "What kind of species sacrifices their own people so easily?" General Kethmore was an old soldier from a race called the Alterians. Unlike most council members, his people still remembered how to fight. "A species has been practicing warfare against itself for its entire history," he answered. "Chancellor, I've been studying human records. They have never stopped fighting wars. Even their peace times are just breaks between conflicts." The Chancellor felt cold fear in his chest. "Explain." "Humans don't fight like us. We fight to make a point, to show strength, to force surrender. Humans fight to completely destroy their enemies. They had wars that killed millions of their own people, and they kept fighting anyway." On the main screen, the recording showed human pilots deliberately crashing their fighters into alien ships when their weapons ran out. The pilots died, but they took enemy vessels with them. "They don't value individual life the way we do," General Kethmore continued. For humans, the survival of their group is more important than the survival of any single person. Meanwhile, on Earth, President Nam spoke to his planet from the underground command center in Seoul. Behind him, screens showed human factories working day and night, building more weapons and ships. My fellow humans, President Nam began, today we won our first battle against the Galactic Council. But this is only the beginning. They see us as dangerous animals that need to be caged. We will show them that caged animals fight hardest of all. He paused, looking directly into the camera that would send his words to every human settlement in space. We didn't want this war. We tried to warn them about the real danger coming from outside our galaxy. They wouldn't listen. Now they will learn why humanity never learned to surrender. The president's words were broadcast not just to humans, but to alien intelligence networks throughout the galaxy. Every species that had voted against Earth now heard the voice of a leader who sounded nothing like the peaceful diplomats they were used to. Back on Nexus Prime, Ambassador Ji-woo Kim requested one final meeting with the full council. She stood in the same chamber where she had tried to warn them about the approaching alien fleet, but now everything was different. "Honored representatives," she began, "you call us warlike. You call us violent. You're completely right. But you need to understand why we became this way." She gestured to a holographic display showing Earth's history. Our planet tried to kill us every day for millions of years. Wild animals hunted us. Diseases killed us. Natural disasters destroyed our cities. Other humans fought us for food and land. The alien representatives watched images of human wars, famines, and disasters flash across the screen. You come from peaceful worlds where everyone shares resources and solves problems by talking. We come from a world that taught us to fight or die. Every peace treaty we ever signed was just time to prepare for the next war. She pointed to the tactical displays, showing human military preparations. You see weapons and soldiers and war machines. We see the tools that kept our species alive long enough to reach the stars. You want to know why we prepare for wars that haven't started yet? Because the wars always start. The only question is whether you're ready when they do. The council chamber fell completely silent. For the first time, the alien representatives began to understand what they had awakened. These weren't peaceful farmers who had suddenly gone crazy. These were the children of a violent universe who had learned to be more violent than anything else. Chancellor Veldar's mental voice whispered through the chamber. "What have we done?" Ji-woo Kim looked around at the frightened alien faces and gave them an answer that would haunt their dreams. "You've started a war with the only species in this galaxy that truly knows how to win them." Admiral Hyun-woo Choi stared at the massive screen in his command center, watching something that made his blood run cold. The ships appearing at the edge of their galaxy were bigger than mountains and shaped like nothing any living species had ever built. "How many?" he asked Commander So-young Park, though he was afraid to hear the answer. "First count shows over 8,000 vessels, Admiral, but more keep appearing every hour." So-young's voice was steady, but her hand shook as she read the numbers. "Each ship is at least 5 times larger than our biggest warship." Admiral Choi nodded slowly. Captain Dong-hyun Park had been right 3 months ago when he first spotted these ships. Something terrible was coming from beyond their galaxy, and now it was here. On Nexus Prime, Chancellor Veldar received the same terrifying information. The alien ships that humans had warned about were real. They filled the space between galaxies like a dark cloud moving toward everything the Council had built over 10,000 years. "Emergency session," the Chancellor announced. "Bring Ambassador Kim immediately." For the first time since the war began, Ji-woo Kim entered the council chamber not as an accused criminal, but as someone who might have the answers they desperately needed. "Ambassador," Chancellor Veldar's mental voice was humble now. "Your people were right about the approaching fleet. We made a mistake not listening to you." Ji-woo felt no satisfaction in being right. The ships on the display were too big and too many for anyone to feel good about anything. "What do you know about them?" "Nothing," admitted General Kethmore. "They don't respond to communication attempts. They don't match any known technology. They just keep coming." Jiwoo connected to Earth's military network and shared what human scientists had learned. We call them the Devourers. Our long-range sensors show they've destroyed 17 galaxies before reaching ours. They don't conquer planets, they eat them completely. The holographic display showed recordings from humanity's deep space monitoring stations. Entire star systems vanishing as the alien ships passed through them. Planets stripped down to nothing. Even the stars themselves being drained of energy. How long do we have? Asked the crystalline representative Crystal, 6 weeks before they reach the outer colonies. Jiwoo answered, 12 weeks before they get to the core worlds. Silence filled the chamber as every representative understood what this meant. Their entire civilization had 12 weeks to live unless something changed. General Insu Kim appeared on the communication screen from Earth's military headquarters. He was humanity's best strategic mind, the person who had planned their defenses against the Council's attack. Honored Council members, he began, we've been studying these Devourers since we first detected them. They're not like anything we've ever faced, but we have a plan. Tell us. Chancellor Veldar said immediately. Human military doctrine and manufacturing speed, combined with your advanced technology and deep space positions. We pool everything we have and fight as one unified force. The alien representatives looked at each other with uncertainty. Trust the species they had just been at war with? Work together with people who had terrified them with their brutal fighting methods? Captain Min-Ho Yong stepped forward. He was the officer who had led the failed attack on Earth and seen human military power firsthand. Chancellor, I fought against the humans. I know what they can do. We need them. But who would command this combined fleet? Asked another representative. The answer came from an unexpected source. Crystal, the crystalline being who had called humans liars just days before, spoke up. The species that never forgot how to fight real wars. The species that was right about this threat while we were calling them paranoid. 8 weeks later, Admiral Hyun-Woo Choi stood on the bridge of the Unity, a ship that combined human weapons with alien technology. The vessel used Vorthak energy shields, Zephyrian computers, and Altrian engines, all working together under human tactical control. Around him, officers from a dozen different species worked side by side. Commander So-young Park coordinated with a Centaurian navigation expert. A Zephyrian communications officer took orders from a human tactical specialist. Fleet status report. Admiral Choi requested. All units ready. Admiral. Came the reply from Captain Eun-ji Lim, who now commanded a squadron of mixed human and alien fighters. We have the largest military force in galactic history. Through the main view screen, Admiral Choi could see the Devourer fleet approaching. Their ships looked like they were made from the bones of dead worlds, decorated with technology stolen from conquered civilizations. Signal all ships, Admiral Choi commanded. Today we fight not as separate species, but as defenders of our galaxy. The enemy thinks they're facing divided worlds ready for harvest. They're about to discover they've awakened something much more dangerous. He paused, looking around at his mixed crew of former enemies who had become allies. A galaxy that's learned to fight as one. The two fleets moved toward each other through the darkness of space. The Devourers had destroyed 17 galaxies, but they had never faced anything like this. A combination of human military thinking with alien technology, all united by the simple desire to survive. Ambassador Jiwoo Kim watched the approaching battle from Nexus Prime's command center. The galaxy had been stunned when they discovered humanity's preparations for war. But those preparations had become their salvation. As the first shots were fired in the battle for their entire civilization, she whispered the words her father had taught her long ago. Sometimes the only way to keep peace is to be ready for war. The final battle had begun.